what is an Aparthotel?
It is all about having those little extra bits in your room.
A lot of the time they will have some form of communal areas, won't they? Whether it's a lounge, sort of games room.
I think as well for employers who are sending workers to work away from home, it's a lot more cost effective for them.
The other big benefit I think for guests is the flexibility.
As you can imagine, after a long day of work, the last thing you probably want to do is then speak to anyone. You probably just want to come straight to bed.
Hi, it's Mike and Sally here from Residential Estates and Guests. Now, those of you that have watched some of our previous videos will have seen that now and again we've touched on the up-and-coming Aparthotel model. So we thought it was worth doing a little bit of a video series, really, of delving into exactly what is an Aparthotel, why do guests prefer them, and why is it really popular for buy-to-let investors.
Yeah,
Sally.
And as you may be able to see, we're not at our usual spot for filming today. We have come over to the lovely Morecambe, to one of our Aparthotels, as a bit of a change of scenery.
Yeah, much better views than what we're used to at the office, Sally, with it. So I guess we start with exactly what is an Aparthotel. Well, essentially, it's a hotel, or what can have been an old guest house converted into hotel rooms, but crucially that include some sort of self-containment features with them.
Whether that be like a small kitchenette where you've got, air fryers, microwave, toaster, kettle, things like that, just so that you can prepare a light meal. It's not necessarily a full kitchen setup where you've got ovens, hobs and things like that, but just a little bit more than what you would get in a hotel room. Yeah,
and then each one obviously has their own en-suites as well, again, just like you get in a normal hotel room. And then the actual buildings themselves, they really vary from hotel to hotel, but a lot of the time they will have some form of communal areas, won't they? Whether it's a lounge, sort of games room, that type of thing.
Yeah, and we've got one here where we are today. They've got a small sort of laundry room.
Yeah.
Because obviously for those guests that are staying that little bit longer for work or an extended period, then they do need to do their laundry without having to go to the laundrette.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sal, firstly, why do the Aparthotel rooms appeal to guests themselves?
So I just touched on it then in the intro, but it is all about having those little extra bits in your room, like the kitchenette setups. You've got a fridge under the counters, you've got your air fryer, microwave, toaster. They can really make their meals in their room, whereas you couldn't do that in a normal hotel room.
I think it gives a good mix as well, doesn't it? Normally, if you come to a hotel, obviously you eat out or you eat in a hotel room. And we're not saying that the people won't do that come to here, but it gives you that choice. That week that you may be working for whatever reason in these sort of rooms, you can have a couple of days where you might eat out, but equally you can cook for yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's like with breakfast, for instance. You can wake up, make your breakfast. You don't then have to go out searching of where you're going to eat your breakfast and things like that. And then it could just be you pop back. You can make a quick sandwich or something like that at lunchtime. And then it may just be your evening meal you might want to eat out. I think as well for employers who are sending workers to work away from home, it's a lot more cost effective for them as well because they don't have to give a food allowance. There is facilities here to be able to make a meal.
Yeah, which is good because it means they then can spend a little bit more on the better hotel rooms with it, because like you say, the money's going towards that rather than a food voucher with it. And I think the actual employees as well would prefer it, as I say themselves,
I think so. There's a fridge in there that they can stock with their favourite snacks and things like that. Whereas in a hotel room, you tend to only get those smaller fridges and things like that. And then there's nowhere to store them. Whereas here you've got shelves, you've got cupboards, things like that.
100%. The other big benefit, I think, for guests is the flexibility. So when I say about flexibility, if you think of a normal hotel, normally there's sort of check-in times in there that you've got to stick to and stuff like that. Whereas with these, they fall more into kind of the service department feel. If you think of that, self-check-in boxes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So especially for workers, if they're coming to a particular site, they might be late back. They don't need to worry of, have I got to get there?
Yeah, they've already pre-checked in online, so all that's sorted. They will have their arrival details on their phone to hand when they arrive, and they can just let themselves in. They don't have to deal with anyone when they get here because, as you can imagine, after a long day of work, the last thing you probably want to do is then speak to anyone, you probably just want to come straight to bed.
That's it. But then equally, they haven't got a huge, apartment that they're staying in. If you think of a normal sort of service apartment with it, and they're really, we put a lot of effort into the actual space, don't we, in these hotel rooms. So we work with specialist furniture providers that you wouldn't believe how you look into a room before it's furnished, you think, crikey, that's small. Does it? And then they come in, the furniture experts, and they'll put little things like we have drop down tables on walls, stuff like that. And it's great, it's great, and we'll touch on for investors further down the line, cost effective that way. But it's also good for guests as well. It gives them that extra bit of space, doesn't it? Definitely. I think one of the other benefits, Sal, as well, when it comes to Aparthotels is their actual locations that they're in. We mentioned at the start when we were saying, what is an Aparthotel? A lot of them are existing guest houses or hotels that have been here for a number of years, and there's a reason that they've done so well.
Locations. And you see them usually either central locations or like here in Morecambe, coastal locations that attract tourism as well all year round.
And there's always got to be a reason for it there. Like you say, it could be that there's a particular, workstation, work area where there's a lot of corporate guests that you need hotel for that. It could be more of a leisure destination. Like you say, we're in Morecambe at the moment. You get a lot of tourists that come and visit here. You've got the exciting Eden project that they're working on, which gives a blend really, because obviously as they're working on the project, you're going to get the corporate guests, but then in the future, once it's all built, you're going to get the tourists,
seeing the tourist guests
with it. So more often than not, there's always a reason why a hotel has been placed in a particular location, and that's another big reason why they appeal to guests as well.
So we've talked about why guests like them, Mike. So can you tell me a little bit why investors may sway towards buying an Aparthotel room?
I mean, there's a number of reasons. I think the starting point is obviously price point. Generally the Aparthotel rooms are a lot more cost effective, a lot cheaper than if you buy in a traditional buy-to-let residential apartment. But yet you can more often than not either get the same nightly rate, if not more at times with it. So, it doesn't take a rocket science to work it out. Low purchase prices, still a high nightly rate. Your yields, and we do touch on this on the investment side, are generally a lot higher. So that's, I think, what draws people in initially with it, and it's easy to see why in it. There's then other reasons, such as no stamp duty most of the time. So because they are a commercial asset, C1 use, anything under £150,000, you won't pay any stamp duty on it. And more often than not, in fact, the whole time we've been selling Aparthotels, we haven't had a single unit that is above that price. So there's no stamp duty on that thing. Big selling point, because we know on the residential side of things, stamp duty went up a couple of years ago. You can pay as high as 5%, even 7% for certain overseas investors. So that's a big selling point of it. Council tax as well. Again, if you're running a traditional holiday let or serviced apartment, you do pay council tax, and quite often you can pay double at times with it in certain cities, certain locations with it. Don't get me wrong, you can claim it back down the line, you can switch it to business rates, but that isn't an easy process.
And it's an ongoing process with things like applying for business rate relief and things like that. But that's why a lot of our owners who have purchased the Aparthotel model, they don't have that worry or anything like that to begin with. It's
straight on the business rates.
It's all done,
and because obviously it's classed already as a business, so it's straight on business rates, and it typically is split between all the owners within the block as well. So you pay something, but it's a lot less than what it
and again with your electricity charges, that all is covered in your service charge as well. So again, it's not having to set up that initial account and things like that ongoing payment to make sure that you're on top of it, things like that. It's all covered, it's all done for you, and it's just included in your service charges.
That's it. So they're the kind of the initial reasons of what draws people into buying the projects themselves. And then, Sal, I suppose moving on to when it's up and running, and what are the kind of operational benefits for investors?
So to begin with, the cost of furniture packs, that significantly reduces, because if you've got a 1-bedroom apartment, you're going to have a lot more furniture in that apartment, whereas in these apartments you still need your obvious things, but the cost is significantly lower.
The rooms are just smaller, aren't they? So
that's it.
Again, you don't need, and you wouldn't, we always say, don't cram it full of furniture. It's one of the worst things you can do, really. Keep a space open.
And that's why we work with these furniture companies, because they will work directly with you. They know the the floor plans and things like that, they will then advise you on what they think would suit your unit perfectly.
The other thing that I know you obviously have to deal with a lot, Sally, in the guest side of things, is utility bills. So we all know, unfortunately, utility bills have rose over the years for all of us, for living, and when it comes to buy to let. When you are managing, when you own a holiday let apartment, those costs fall on you as the owner. And one of the big benefits of the Aparthotel side is the shared costs with it. So each room doesn't have its own meter. There'll be a shared meter across the whole hotel when it comes to water, when it comes to gas, electric, whatever the facilities are, and that significantly reduces it
costs
down as well. So again, why is that important to investors? Well, it means they haven't got high costs. It means more of the income that they get in is going to be more pure profit. So their returns are much better on their property as well. So it's a big selling point. That the utilities.
I think as well with the locations of an apart hotel, here coastal views and things like that. Owners like to use them themselves. I have a lot of owners who will give us a call and just say, Sally, can I have this week or this weekend and things like that. Obviously they would prefer to have somebody in it, but they would normally book a little bit further in advance. And then what you tend to find is they say, if you do have someone that wants it, give it them.
And you don't get that flexibility really with any other type of property that you buy. The hotel just gives you that. And even if it might not be your particular unit that's free, the chances are you'll know other owners in there with it, or you can move people across to it. But it's really important. It's not always about money and income for people. We get so many investors that have fallen in love for whatever reason with the location. It might be a place like Morecambe where they visited when they were younger and still like to go every now and again. Having a place that they know they can come to.
We've got ones up in Rhosneigr on Anglesey, which, as we know, people that go to Rhosneigr go every year in, year out. So a lot of our investors there will use that throughout summer and in the winter months when it is that off-peak season. We have a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're just some of the benefits that it comes to buy-to-let investors. Obviously, there's bigger benefits in terms of buying property itself and buy-to-let property, in terms of the income it can produce you and your family, that financial freedom, the reasons why people get into property itself. But the particular Aparthotel model, I sort of feel it's kind of taken all the negatives in all the different models and said, right, how can we get a positive?
We'll put them all together.
Yeah, and it's this model that, kills off a lot of the negative side of it. So really exciting model, and, it's only going to get stronger. We don't know where we're going to go in terms of restrictions for holiday lets. Councils, governments are looking at things like that of licensing particular apartments. It's a bit of a grey area at the moment. One thing they can't change is hotels. They're C1 use. They will always be used to let out to guests. And so it's a much clearer future, I think, on this particular model, and a really exciting one.